my original plans for celebrating Jimmy Neutron after 23 years, if you want to count the TV series, is by reviewing either 5 to 7 episodes slash specials to celebrate it. But since Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends week got in the way, I decided to lock it down to just one episode, and someone really wanted me to review this episode, so this is honestly best for that person, and mainly the fact that since that we're in summer, rodeo is considered a summer activity. But then again, it also remembers me on not continuing Mains of Optimistic Pride, but that's a different story. Miss Fowl is taking the students to a rodeo show because she has a history on being in the rodeo, and this is actually what makes her one of the best characters in this episode due to what she contributes later on. This is where we get the introduction of Sally, who Jimmy, Sheen, Carla immediately have a crush towards, and they do anything in order to get her affection, which leads to Jimmy making a mechanical ball, as in a really mechanical ball that is functional and mobile, which also requires magnetic underwear. A lot of twist tonals there. Honestly, this is a lot more humorous considering the fact that Jimmy manages to go through all that, and I can't imagine how painful it would have felt if you were in his position. Truth be told, if Sally did return later, Jimmy would have been in a more predictable position when it comes to handling 3 girls: Betty Quitterlin, Cindy Vortex, and now Sally. And if you push out Cindy out of the equation, it wouldn't make any difference. With this episode showcasing the obsession side of love from Jimmy, Carla, and Sheen, honestly, I'm not really against the idea of them not being into girls in some occasions, and since that they can't be able to have that commitment due to them being attracted to Sally, then there's a reason onto why I don't talk about boys/girls in these types of shows, because this show doesn't really do a bad job on showcasing the hypocrisy involving these 3 characters, because if anything, it just showcases that the flaws in these characters work to some degree that I can be on board with. I always get the impression that when this show makes the females attractive outside of the Love Potion episodes, it's mainly the fact that some of these cartoons have a thing of making cowgirls attractive, which is no surprise when it comes to Jimmy and his friends' reactions. But then again, it kind of shows that they actually knew what type of female is attractive when it comes to where they came from. Granted, Betty is attractive to Jimmy, but then again, I've always get the impression that cowgirls is literally the only standard on making people go so obsessive towards that character. And truthfully, since that Sally is actually attractive in this, I still prefer other cowgirl characters, but at the same time, she has a really good character design. What makes this episode one of my most underrated is mainly the fact that the humor, again, really captures of how much I enjoy Jimmy Neutron, with Carla trying to face off a pig along with Sheen's antics being done correctly. It's honestly what makes this episode worth sitting through, to the point that they wouldn't be able to have a chance with Sally regardless, but with Jimmy being an intelligent that he is, or genius in this case, the mechanical mobile ball really makes it an easy win for him if it wasn't for the fact that Sheen didn't get in the way. But then again, he wasn't aware that the ball he was riding on wasn't the ball that he encountered in the middle of this episode. But this is where Miss Fowl shines, as even when Sheen is her worst student in class, she is willing to save him by any means necessary. And with her destroying the bull by kicking it after jumping off from the horse, it's mostly went free. Mainly the fact that other moments may be superior over this when it comes to went free, but if you found this moment went free, then I don't blame you if you're a fan of Miss Fowl. The ending is obviously predictable when it comes to Jimmy being exposed of what he did, which leads to Sally hanging out with Cindy and Libby despite the fact that she doesn't come back afterwards. But then again, she lives next to the Rodeo Stadium compared to Retroville that is farther away from this location. And this also leads to the ending where Jimmy, Sheen, and Carl question onto why they like girls to begin with. It mostly answers everyone else's questions onto why Sally never returned after this episode, but then again, you can make the argument that if she did return, she would probably have nothing to do with Jimmy, Sheen, or Carl. Well, mostly Jimmy, since that she was mostly disappointed of him than the other two. Overall, this episode is really underrated, and still one of the funniest episodes that I've seen involving the characters, including Miss Fowl's moment that she gets towards the end. Don't know if I'm going to do that Jimmy Neutron week after scrapping it in favor of another week. I'll say this, that I'll do everything in order to make that week really special when it comes to me enjoying the show as a whole. It could be 5 or 7 episodes / specials if it's a possibility, but all I can say is right now, I don't plan on reviewing Planet Sheen. No matter how many times you request me or telling me about it, I'm not going to do it. Unless if it involves Patreon, but I would probably dread the day if that actually happens, despite making some cash. I'm giving this episode an 8 out of 10.